Great. All right, well, we'll start with a recalibration. It's like a mini meditation that you can do pretty much anytime. That's kind of how we like to start, by just recalibrating, resetting, getting here, arriving. So sit up really tall. Yeah, get the wiggles out if you had them, kind of get all that out, get all the stuff out of your way energetically and physically that's kind of keeping you from being here. You can have your hands rest anywhere. And if you're not driving, or if it's safe to do so, you're not riding a bicycle or driving, close your eyes if you can. If you're driving, just take a few deep breaths. Exhale everything out. Inhale and grow wide through your ribs. Feel yourself getting wider, brighter. Exhale, feel force softening, emptying, relaxing. Do that again. Inhale and fill up your ribs, your core, your heart with breath. Exhale everything out. Rinse out. Soften your jaw, your tongue, your throat. Inhale, lift up tall. Exhale, ease your shoulders away from your ears. I'm just going to read you a short meditation. Let's pretend for a moment that we have a friend who's with us much of the time. The friend watches us, watches our lives and circumstances, and comments, "Oh, that's too bad. That's terrible. That's awful. You could be doing better. You're not doing very well. What's wrong with you? Why did you do that?" This friend isn't very pleasant, but many of us have brought such a friend with us through much of our journey. Now let's imagine something different. Let's imagine a friend, a constant companion who laughs a lot, even laughs at setbacks. Of course, this friend doesn't mock us or laugh at us when we're in pain. This friend is compassionate and gentle and has an open heart. But he or she helps us laugh, even when it hurts, even when we're confused. This friend has learned the art of joy, the art of living, and the art of living joyfully. Let's bring along the friend who knows the art of joyful living and helps us learn the same. Take a big breath in. Open your mouth, let it out. And then blink open your eyes. Welcome. Okay, welcome to week 3. We just are ending week 2 of Vitality Week. Hopefully you got tuned in to those things that make you feel alive, joyful, present, powerful. And you also got tuned into things that kind of tend to make you feel the opposite of that. That was the whole work of this week. So right now, now that we're at the end of that week, we've done some of that work. I invite you just for the next couple of minutes, the questions that for you to answer to kind of tune you into it. If you have a pen and paper, great, or you can write it on your phone if you don't, or just think of it if you have no pen and paper. Here are the questions. What discoveries have you made, or have I made, in what drains me and what gives me life? What discoveries have I made in what drains me and what gives me life? Next question. What changes do I need to make to stay invigorated, to stay connected to my life force? ATED. You got a couple of minutes to answer those questions on your page. Just leave a little space and just answer those questions for yourself. And while you're doing that, play a little music. It looks like there's just a few more joining. Okay, I think everybody's back now. Awesome. Welcome back. How was that? If you enjoyed sharing and connecting, give me some jazz hands. I know you're alive. Yes. That's kind of how you cheer when you're on mute and over Zoom. That's how we kind of figured out a way to do that. Yeah, so all last week was all about tuning into what sort of naturally gives us juice, what kind of feeds our life force energy, and what drains it, right? What nourishes it, what dims our light, what kind of people, places, things, foods, all of that, right? It's not just food. It's everything. Media, what media lights us up, what books give us life, what practices, what pursuits, and then sort of what numbs us out and drains us. So in the chat, Jeff and Marty were saying just the act of sharing helped clarify this a little bit for some of you. So that's good. I'm glad. We realize that we have more in common than we know when we get a chance to share and connect about this stuff. So thank you for participating in that. And thank you for sharing either in the chat or with each other. Is there anybody who wants to share with the group, or maybe we could just take one share with the group about what you learned in the last week about your own vitality and what gives you life? You can unmute and just start talking. Anyone? Bueller?
I'll go.
Oh, who's that? Is that Amelia? Okay, Amelia, we're going to go ahead. We're going to spotlight.
Okay. So one of the things that I've decided I need to do is start setting boundaries.
Yes.
A lot of boundaries because, and Roger and Albina know this, but my husband, I run my own graphic design business. I'm also a yoga bar teacher, and my husband runs his own business as well. And I'm his graphic designer. And so whenever I'm in the middle of trying to do all my stuff and he comes home, he's like, I need you to do this. Can you do this for me? I have to like say, can you? And it sounds silly, but I'm have to say, you have to start sending me a Google invite. So I can put it in my calendar, because that way I can not feel like obligated to like stop whatever I'm doing and do whatever he needs. So.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing, Amelia. You just tuned into something really great. I mean, generally, I want everybody to see themselves in Amelia's that boundaries, right? If we don't have clear boundaries, we can get drained by all the little all the things that are happening all around us. And a lot of us, yogis tend to be givers, right? Yoga teachers, yogis, we tend to give. Parents, right? We tend to be givers. And then we drain ourselves and we don't keep anything for ourselves. If you can connect with that, raise your hand. Yeah. So you also, the fact that a lot of us are at home, working from home, that caused a lot of us to need to redefine our boundaries. Because what were natural boundaries before, perhaps when we had an office to go to, it just naturally created a boundary, right? A division between when I'm at home, I'm available for, emotional connection and I'm available to do these other things. And when I'm at the office, I'm not, right? Necessarily. Like if there's an emergency, you can call me. But now all that kind of got thrown out the window for a lot of people. And now it's like everybody's all together all the time. And it's so fluid. So we can get drained through that, right?
Yeah, our daughter thinks that we are her personal assistants. We can bring her like change of clothes and a snack to school anytime.
That's right. Because she doesn't see that like, oh, we actually have our own lives and we actually have things that we need to do too. She just thinks that we should be. And when she's here, when she was here, and she was doing home school over Zoom, it was a little bit easier, right? She could just walk downstairs, get a snack, get a drink, whatever. And then now that she's at school again, she just thinks we can still just anytime, just drop whatever we're doing. Are you guys tracking with this? Do you understand? So Amelia, what's the commitment? You said you need to make an ask, right?
Yes. And I like somebody put in the chat 24-hour notice. Yes. For me, I've done really well with staying active and meditating every day. And my diet has been really healthy. And I want to commit on continuing on that path and keep going forward, because I feel a huge difference. I feel so much lighter. I feel happier, and I feel more energetic. So
Yeah.
that's what I commit to, and keep moving forward in the same direction I'm going.
Yay.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Thank you. Um, it's like that for everyone. Sometimes you have to say no so that you can keep your bigger yes.
Mm.
And I would say, not just for Amelia, but for everybody, no is a boundary. No can be a boundary, and no doesn't always require an explanation. Just no with a period at the end of it, right? And sometimes it's no, not right now, right? That's basically what Amelia's saying. She's not saying no to her husband like, I can never do this thing. They have a working relationship, and you don't get to walk in the middle of something else I'm doing and demand my attention and prioritize yourself because I already was working on a priority. Are you tracking with that? Like, we have to do that with our kids sometimes too. We're like, right now I'm in the middle of this, and in 30 minutes I'll be able to pay attention to you. And not right now. Figure it out for yourself. My daughter will call and say, can you pick me up? And I'm like, not right now. I'm doing something. Start walking or you'll have to wait. And I think that's part of it, is that boundaries can give us life. And if we have a lack of boundaries, we'll often find that we're very drained. And it doesn't have to be a physical boundary. It can be an energetic or emotional boundary too, right? Like, I'm not making myself available to be your emotional landfill anymore, right? Like, you have friends that do that. They'll call you and they just dump everything on you. Like, oh, I feel so much better. And you're like, oh, I don't. I feel icky now. And those relationships that aren't a two-way street where you get your turn to kind of share what's going on in your life. I think we all know the difference. Someone where we're healthily sharing like what's coming up, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then some people who just use us as like emotional landfills, I would say. Like, they just dump on us, right? You tracking with that?
What a great segue into this week's theme.
Thank you for keeping me on track. All right. So that's vitality, but vitality leads to this space of, the presence gives us awareness of what gives us vitality, what gives us life, and what drains it. And then that gives us this space of equanimity. Equanimity is a pretty high dollar word. It's like a vocabulary word, right? And it can mean a lot of different things at different times. On the yoga mat, it might mean balance. But not only just not falling over, but this dance between effort and ease. Maybe you've heard teachers talk about that, right? If it's all effort, you push so hard, something breaks. You push until you break. If it's all ease, then you're just coasting. So on the yoga mat, the idea is to balance this effort. You're kind of gently dancing at the edge of your comfort zone without harming yourself. That's what equanimity, that's what balance means. There's a Sanskrit phrase for it that comes from the sutras. Sukha is softness or tenderness. Sthita, strength. Asanam. The perfect asana is when you have both ease and effort at the same time in equal measure, balanced. It's the same in our lives. It's the same in our lives. So that instead of fighting with the universe all the time, right? And trying to control things, there's this dance of receiving and stepping forward. So that's part of it. But for me personally, just to share a little story about equanimity, it's also for me, equanimity is the cultivation of space between the stimulus and the response. Does that make sense? You can just shake your head yes or no if it doesn't. So Viktor Frankl said, Viktor Frankl said that between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. And in that space lies all of your power. So when I am not in a space of equanimity, I am very reactive. Something happens and I get worked up about it. I get supercharged, and then I do something probably that if I were choosing, I wouldn't. Let me give you an example. So one time I had a friend who was a fellow yoga teacher who I found out was like kind of getting on the internet and posting all this stuff about me and about us, right? Like just generally saying like they suck, they're terrible, blah, blah, blah. And the very first thing when somebody told me that, I wanted to go knock his lights out because I'm from Texas. That's just kind of how, somebody's talking crap on you. When I was 12, I probably would have just went over and knocked his teeth in. That was that was literally like my first reaction is like, I'm going to go kick this guy's ass. But then I thought, well, okay, that's not really very helpful. Yoga, it might feel good in the moment, right? To punch him, but that's not kind of the person I want to be, really. So then my second reaction, interestingly, was I'm going to go on the social media and eviscerate this person using sort of my my ability to speak, my words, and I'm going to eviscerate him and like crush him that way. Still the same idea. I'm going to crush him, but now instead of punching him, I'm going to do it much more yogically through words. But you see, I'm still angry and fighting, but it's a different way. Then my third response was like when I got a little space, because I didn't do the first two, I thought about it. The third thing was I'm not going to do anything because this person really isn't worth my time. It's just not worth the energy to go. I mean, I'm still upset and hurt. I'm not going to deny that, but me giving him energy, me fighting with him just makes me madder. It just starts a war. And that's not really what I want to do either. And then ultimately what I ended up actually doing was I added him into this loving kindness meditation, and I made him the person that I really didn't want to send loving kindness to, happiness, health, success. And I just put him in the middle of all that. And at first it was really, really hard. This meditation that we do, this loving kindness meditation is you have to choose a person that's difficult to send loving kindness to. And he was my difficult person for years. I think it was like for a year. And then, what's interesting is until we were talking about this, I hadn't thought about him in years. Like for a while, he was right in the center of my meditations because he was the person that came up when it was time to choose a difficult person. But eventually I just let him go. He had no power over me. And that incident seems very inconsequential now. So to me, it's about cultivating that space between the thing that happens and how I respond to it. That's what equanimity is. And it's not to say that I don't have a strong reaction. Do you want to share a little bit about like how your teacher shared?
So for a long while, I thought that equanimity was me kind of cultivating this sense of non-reactivity, not being non-reactive. And what happened was I was trying to shove down how I felt. And I called it, I'm just being equanimous. And I remember I was sitting at a talking circle with my teacher, and I said, well, what I'm struggling with is, I have these strong emotions, but I don't want to be a reactive person. So I'm working on being more equanimous. But ultimately, it's just nice words of saying, I'm trying to control it, right? I'm trying to control my emotions. And she was like, well, Albina, why don't you, instead of suppressing your emotions, why don't you learn to direct your emotions to a different channel? And to me, it's like the light bulb went off. I'm like, oh, I can do that? Because a lot of times we have all these strong emotions, right? And we're like, oh, I'm going to be yogic. I'm going to be yogic. But that shit doesn't work, right? I mean, a better way, a much more skillful way would be to direct that energy elsewhere. Am I making sense? So looking at the situation through that lens, or through the energy through that lens, really helped me to actually become more equanimous as a result.
Well, what I would say is, so angry, right, has a corollary called passion.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of saying, well, I'm so angry, you could feel that anger and go, okay, now can I channel that towards what I'm passionate about? Does that make sense? Because anger is passion.
Yes.
Now, anger without the accompanying passion can just be aggression.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? And aggression, when you add passion to it, can be what, leadership, or cultivating something that you feel strongly about and creating something in the world. Do you see the difference? So, people who are angry all the time, it's like they haven't directed their anger towards something that they're passionate about. Does that make sense? It's not to say you should never be angry. Of course, that's the human experience. You're going to sometimes get angry. Then the question is, okay, what can I do with this? Do I even need to do anything with it? Or can I just sit with it?
Yeah, and that pause that he talked about between the stimulus and the response, in that moment, right, in that space, you can make a new choice. And this is ultimately, to me, what yoga is all about. Us creating space to take a deep breath and make a better, more evolved choice rather than just going, like we tend to do when we're in reaction. Okay, can we talk about
Well,
this?
there's a good question on there from Belko. I've gotten really good at underreacting. However, how do you avoid becoming numb? Both happiness and reaction can become dulled. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's a really good question. And I see you on the screen. I mean, the answer, you probably already know the answer, really, if you think about it. It's like, when you underreact, are you suppressing? You gonna take it off mute?
Yeah,
Hi.
I'm off mute, and it matters mostly with important loved ones. And like you struggle with your mom.
Mhm.
Uh, I think you have a mom that you help out with, and I have a mom that I help out with, and I love her dearly. I just there's just a couple of people in my life that it takes a lot of effort, if you love them, to manage them. And I've told all the Bikram people in Austin this, that when I'd come home from taking care of my mom, I'd go straight to yoga, because I'd go sweat and reinvigorate my spirit, my physical well-being, my mental well-being, and everything. And then there's a couple of other people that I have to manage too, and I find myself dulling myself, and I was able to come out of it with with going to yoga and with socializing and dancing and things like that. I've been really strong through the COVID. I'm in South Texas now, so I get to be out in the sunlight and get outdoors. But the winter really kind of scared me, because I knew there was going to be the mountain cedar to deal with in Austin, and you can't get outdoors that well.
Mhm.
I can't get outdoors that well, and I handle it better when I do the sweating, the Bikram to sweat it all out. So it's just been challenging during the winter to pull myself out of it. And but I do feel like if I dull the overreaction and getting upset about things, it dulls the happiness side too. And it'll help a lot when the COVID's over and I can get outdoors more, with my friends more, do the things that I love doing more.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I mean, you're clearly tuning into what you need. It's obvious that you understand what you need. What I hear is a couple of things, and I don't want to go too far down the road with you of coaching, but I think there's some stuff that we can all tune into. One is that you're very clear on what you need. And I think we all kind of know. Now, right now, can we always do it the way that we choose, right? Whether that's in the studio or getting outside, the answer is we can't always have it exactly how we want it. Is that, that's true.
Yeah.
Whether that's the pandemic or not. But can we adapt in a way that we can still get some of what we want, even if it's not exactly the way we want it? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather be in a room with all of you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
it's our room, for now. And like, maybe there's a way to socialize with people either on the phone or through Zoom. We've had double dates, like when we were really in the lockdown portion. We missed some of our friends that we'd like to go and have dinner with. So we
Mhm.
made dinner and we got on Zoom with them, and it wasn't quite as good, but it was still pretty great. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. And I was able to do that for a few months, but then after a while it just gets stale and it's just not the same. You need that energy,
Yeah.
the real life energy.
Yeah, and you may have to adapt and try new things, try new ways
Hmm.
of doing that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I heard that was really interesting was that, there's people that you have to manage.
Hmm.
And that feels different than there's people I need to support, or there's people in your life, right? Like say maybe your language can also, you can play with your language, like, rather than manage my mom, I can't
Hmm.
manage her. She's unmanageable. But I can support her. I can love her. And, I think what I also heard you say is there's certain people in your life that maybe they do drain you sometimes, but they are in your life and there's no way to avoid that.
Hmm.
Can you approach can you approach it differently so that at the end of it you don't feel as drained? And for me,
Yeah.
I had to see my mom in a different light until I was ready to see my role with my mom and the way that I saw my mom differently. I was always going to be irritated and drained. But when I saw it through these eyes of, I'm not going to change my mom,
Hmm.
I could back up from where I would normally do this. And just when she
Hmm.
says the thing that I know is going to trigger me, which is often
Hmm.
basically her way is she brings up politics. And as soon as
Ah.
she brings up politics, that's my warning sign to just back up a little bit energetically, not physically necessarily, but
Hmm.
go, yeah, that's great, mom.
Yeah.
And like, here's the part where she tries to, and she's trying to do her
Hmm.
thing. And I
Yeah.
step out of the arena.
Hmm. I redirect a lot, and
Yeah.
I send the energy positive constantly, and it can just be draining to to be redirecting the energy to positive,
Mm-hmm. Well, and you don't even
and and to bring the best out. I'm always wanting to bring the best out in everyone,
yeah.
and but it's an effort, and it's not always it's never a 50-50, and it's just rough when it's a 90-10 or a 20-80, and it's stressful.
Yes, absolutely. And what I get real clear on is imagine the teachers, right, that are working with our kids, and the kids are bringing all their stuff, and their work is to
Hmm.
continue with the lesson in the best way that they can, and to do it in a way that doesn't feel like they're berating children all day, because
Yeah.
children are being children all day. They're not
Yeah.
listening, they're cutting up, they're
Hmm.
spacing out, they're
Hmm.
distracting. And so
Hmm.
how can we, right,
Hmm.
bring this loving wisdom, because the teacher has more, has all this wisdom and all these tools to bring into that setting. And so I'm also trying to do something similar when I'm with my mom or with
Hmm.
people and with my kids.
Well,
So
that's the thing is that I was a public high school teacher for 22 years, so
you
I have all those
yes,
tools.
you do.
So I know what I need to do and how to do it, but it's stressful. When you're a high school teacher, it's a stressful job, but I loved those students.
Yeah, of
I
course.
loved them, and they were worth it, and my loved ones are worth it. It's just I don't want to monopolize the time, you guys, so we can move on.
No, but you get it. So just to close out, I mean, you do have the tools, and the question is like,
Hmm.
what to put in where. You have to get creative with that so that you can be, a positive force and stay level and not be drained, right? And we all
Hmm.
have to do that dance. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for
Yeah.
sharing.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay.
So as we move into the week of equanimity, another lens through which I like to look at the subject or this theme is the way we live our lives. So going back to that concept of effort and ease, some of us have the experience of really pushing through in life. Like life, we experience life as something hard, something that we struggle with, and it's constant draining energy. And when I'm here to tell you that there is a better way. And that better way is what I call a process of co creation, meaning that, the universe is always meeting you halfway. And one of the ways that we like to do this, experience this magic, is through a vision meditation. So every year, Roger and I work on our vision and goals. Actually, as a matter of fact, I do it every 6 months or so, or maybe even every day. But I also do realize that a lot of people never actually to sit down to reflect in which direction they want their lives to go, and they never set goals. And remember how we started our 40 days with intention plus action equals transformation. So that's the foundation of the vision work. The vision meditation is where you come into that equanimity, that balance of co-creation. It's you and the universe working together. And for the sake of time, we have so many different stories to that all the magic that happened to us with vision work, literally divine guidance and such. But today I just want to take you through the experience, and just know that in this process, what's happening is two things. One, you go inside and you connect to your intuition, inner guidance, inner wisdom, your heart's desires, right? So your desires. And when you do that, also something magical, miraculous happens, that a lot of times you also get an idea that is like, oh, where's that coming from? And to me, that is the magic of that divine guidance. You can call it God, you can call it the universe. And just like a chaturanga in yoga, right? The more you do it, the stronger you get. The more you do this meditation, the more skillful you become in this process of co-creation. And as a result, you start experiencing life with effortless ease. Literally, synchronicities happen, good breaks, right people show up in your life at the perfect time. So would you like to do that as your meditation today, a vision meditation? Let's just go ahead and do it.
Can I add something?
Yes.
One thing I think that taps in perfectly to what Belko just shared is that this is better than your best efforts.
Yes.
It's better than your best efforts because it's an allowing. When we do this vision meditation, part of this is simply receiving, trusting that there's something out there. There's the universe is directed in a way that it will help you do better than your best efforts. When we're only us trying to create the container and cause things to happen, it's actually not allowing something better to step in, that even better than your planning or thinking or efforts could do. It's better than your best efforts. Does that make sense? That's what this process is intended to do. This opening up is to allow something even better. Now you will still make effort, and you'll also allow.
Yeah, that action will be inspired action, right? Because it's inspired, it's guided by something so much bigger than you, so much wiser than you. So it's kind of like that. So today is just an introduction. If you've never experienced a vision meditation, I believe you're in for a really amazing surprise. So before we do anything, just stretch your arms out. Remember, it all starts with physiology. Reach your arms up and take a deep breath in. Exhale, arms down. Let's do that again. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, arms down. And one more time, just for fun, reach in, joy. And arms down. And simply close your eyes and take a deep breath into your heart. Exhale, feel for relaxing your shoulders. You can even wiggle your shoulders a little bit. Relax your neck, relax your throat. Breathe down into the bottom of your belly and feel your belly relax and soften. Inhale and savor your breath. Feel the magic, the gift of your breath. And exhale it all out. Know that all it takes is just pausing to take a couple of deep breaths in order for you to access your intuition inner guidance, your heart's desires. You can call it divine guidance. So breathe that in. And right now, imagine that you are somewhere outside in nature. And make it a really pleasant, feel good experience. You can feel the earth under your feet, and it feels good. It feels good to be grounded, connected to the earth under your feet. And now imagine that you're looking up into the sky, and it is a magnificent sky. So in your mind's eye, imagine looking up into the sky, and it is the most beautiful shade of blue you've ever seen. And take a deep breath in, breathing in the magic, the beauty of the sky over your head, and enjoy it. And as you're looking up into the sky, see how limitless the sky is. And know that your life is limitless. The possibilities in front of you are absolutely limitless. And as you breathe deeply, allow yourself to step into the space where anything is possible. So just like you're playing a fun game with me, stepping into pure possibilities. Your past doesn't matter. Your age doesn't matter. How much money you have or don't have, none of that matters. Your health, whatever happened before and whatever is right now does not matter. So as you breathe deeply, as you look at this big blue sky over your head, feel yourself stepping into pure possibility. Breathe it in. Feel it viscerally in your body. And right now, imagine that it is February 7th, 2030, 10 years from now. Imagine it. How old are you then? So after doing a quick math, take a deep breath in. That day is coming. So let your imagination run wild. Allow that divine guidance to come in. So allow the images to come in. Where do you wake up in the morning on February 7th, 2030? See it, feel it. Who are you with? Where are you? Breathe deeply so the images can unfold. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? Using all of your senses, what do you smell? What do you hear? What do you see? What do you taste? Breathe deeply into your heart, connecting to your heart's desires and opening up to receive the images. What do you do on that day? How do you spend the day? What do you do for fun? What do you do for work? Do you even work? What are your hobbies? What do you do for pleasure? And when you go to bed at night, what are you grateful for? And then internally, you can breathe in, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you, thank you. And open your eyes. That is, my friends, a vision meditation. And what I invite you to do is take your journals and write down, while it's still fresh in your memory, write down your vision and write it down in present tense and affirmative, meaning not I hope to or I will, I am. I wake up in a house on the beach. So write it down in present tense and affirmative.
I think they can do it now.
Yeah, and breathe deeply. Breathe deeply into your heart. Stay connected with your vision. Pause there.
Mhm. So go ahead and write it down now while it's fresh.
So we invite you to hone in your vision. And remember, the more you do it, the easier it flows. It flows with more effortless ease. So I invite you to clear it up, write it down in great details. And one of the most powerful tools that I think it's just so useful whenever you're, in this magic of manifesting and shaping your destiny and creating your reality, you take your iPhone or whatever the phone you use. All of the phones have voice memo option, and you can read your vision in present tense and affirmative with a lot of energy, with a lot of passion. And then you make that your meditation every day.
Mhm.
You meditate every morning and every evening to your own, I call it the vision tape. And as you do that, you feel all the feels. That's why it's important to add that a descriptive language, and you see it happening and you feel it, right? You generate the emotion, that elevated emotion, that feeling tone of it. And when you do it every day and you make it your meditation, you're giving that possibility even more energy. And that's how you turn it into a probability. And that's how, my friends, you get to shape your destiny.
Mhm.
So you want to talk about the homework?
Sure. So Kimberly asked a question, curious if any other don't have a specific vision or goal.
Can I answer
Yeah,
that?
answer that.
I'm happy to answer that, Kimberly. I remember the first time I did a vision meditation. It didn't flow as fluidly as it does now because I've done it so many times. In the beginning, it is my experience that, I used to block it. I used to block my vision. As soon as an idea comes in, I would go into like, who the heck are you to think like it's even possible for you? So there may be that you can go through and experience that. Sometimes it's just, it's also imagination, right? If you watch kids, they have so, like, their imagination is so rich. But then as we grow older, we kind of disconnect from our imagination. So it is my experience that the more I do the vision meditation, the more I get to develop my imagination. And this is a process of literally imagining your future. And again, I want to remind you, it's a co-creation, right? It's your desires, which, by the way, the word desire from Latin means of the Father, meaning of the Heavenly Father. So consider that even your desires were put into your heart by something bigger than you. Woo! I just got goosebumps when I said that. And it's your desires. And then also the divine will always like open up and show you something that you could never possibly even imagine on your own. And remember, my friends, if you want the results, you must have the discipline. Even with this meditation, in order to have the results, in my experience at least, maybe some of you just wake up like this, but I have to work at it. Like I do my meditation every day.
So it's okay if you didn't have a very clear vision, because now mine is so much more detailed. But I do remember many years ago, the first time I did this, I only just got little flashes, almost like a fuzzy Polaroid of what it might look like. But now it's like the pixels, it's high resolution graphics
3D.
now, right? but at the time it was just like a fuzzy, maybe kind of a feeling, something. That's okay. Trust that, follow it, describe it as best you can for yourself. This is all really just for you, so that you can, when you can start to picture, it might just be a flash, a picture. I'm somewhere on a beach. I feel good. Where is that place? You know, why, how did I get there? Those are curiosities that can lead you to exploring, how do I start to live into that future? And that question is a really great question, because you'll know when like, this isn't going to help me live into that future that I want, or that it has been given to me, or that I've seen, when you're doing something that doesn't help you. But then, this could, right? Like this thing that I'm doing certainly feels that way. And it doesn't have to be forced. You can start to trust that you'll get these little flashes of insight that'll help you start to walk the path. Does that make sense? And you'll know when you're on it, and you'll know when you're off, you know, if
you will feel some type of way.
Mm-hmm. So I would not get upset if you didn't have a very clear vision. And we do a lot of this work all the time, and it helps people refine it. She's on her, website, has tons of stuff that'll help you, that, free vision work. If this is exciting to you, on albinarippy.com, there's just loaded up loads of free stuff. That's all I do these days. That's basically all she does. Now, back to equanimity. This is all tied together, so I don't want to say it's like either or. But equanimity, the yoga, the meditation, the reading helps you kind of break open the flow of your own natural flow state. Does that make sense? The discipline eventually leads to ease.
Yes.
At first, it seems really hard to get on the yoga mat every day and to get on the meditation cushion every day, which is part of, by the way, the homework for this next week. And eventually it starts to become easy. Just like, at first it was so hard to do bow pose. It's still not easy.
Heck, it was so hard to survive the 90-minute Bikram class. Can anybody relate to that? Yes.
Yeah, but then you get to, it becomes to where you desire it, right? Yeah. You want to be in that room. You want to do bow pose because it feels good, but it takes a while to get there. Does that make sense? So daily yoga, the meditation is increasing this week to 15 minutes. So if you're struggling with meditation, maybe approach it differently. Instead of like thinking I have to have a clear mind or an equanimous mind, instead create a place where everything is welcome. My mind that's jumping around, that's welcome. I accept that. It's kind of moving from, I can tell you the states moves from accepting. I accept that my mind likes to jump around, to I welcome it. That's the next stage. I'm welcoming it. Your mind is just doing what it does. How neat, how interesting. That's so cool. That's so weird. Why does it do that? Oh, well, who cares, right? Welcoming. And then the last is celebrating. Oh yeah, I have this brilliant mind that can create all these scenarios that I don't have to give that much credit to. I don't, it's like, oh, neat. Or my body is feeling this way. I accept that. Today I feel sluggish. Or I welcome it. It's part of the dance, right? Today I feel sluggish. Today I feel irritated. Today I feel whatever. To celebrating it. oh, I have all this capacity to feel all these things, sometimes all at once. All right. Like I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm bored. And that all happens in like 3 minutes. That is meditation. So anything that once you sit down on the mat, everything that happens after that is meditation.
Yes.
Everything that happens is meditation. And that can give you some space around what it's supposed to be like. The answer is it's not supposed to be like anything. It is what it is. That is meditation. So yoga, meditation, read chapter 3 and the next 2 laws of transformation. And if you have the space and the capacity and the willingness, we would love to hear from you more and from more of you on the Facebook page. It's such a delight to see other people's journey. And when you share your journey, even though you might have this thing like, why does anybody care what I'm feeling or thinking? The truth is, it's because it relates somehow and gives me some insight into how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, where I'm at. And that's why when you feel it, just do it. Even if it's messy, we'd love to hear from you. This is a Super Bowl of your life, right? Like this is the difference between sort of showing up, as on the tryout team, right? The practice team versus like this is the pro team. The pro team does all the work even when they don't feel like it, right? So I do appreciate that, and we'd love to hear from you. And when you're having a good time, share it. When you're having a rough time, share it. And we'd love to see you next week, same time. And get into the studio, get on with Pure Yoga Texas website. They have so many great classes. There's workshops that are for you for this. Please do those. There's some amazing teachers leading those. We'd love to hear all about your experience in those classes and connecting with each other.
Make your vision tape and expect a miracle.
All right. Thank you. And we'll see you next week. Enjoy whatever you're going to do today. Get outside if you can. If the cedar fever is not so, I've had to take a lot of Claritin myself. So, all right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. You want to play us some outro music?
Yes.